So there are different types of numbers that we describe using different titles, and they go together. So the first thing you can think about is we have what are called the real numbers. And within the real numbers, we have, first starting with things like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have this set we call natural numbers. I'm going to say nat for short. Well, if you take those natural numbers and you include the number 0, so if we throw 0 into the mix, we get what are called whole numbers. Then if we take those numbers and throw in -1, -2, -3, we get what are called integers, which the integers also contain the numbers that are also in the whole and the natural, so each one builds. The next set, if you throw in any fraction, things like 1/4, 4/9, 2/5, you have what are called rational numbers. But not all real numbers are rational, so we have to break this into pieces and have the other type, which are called irrational numbers. These types of numbers are decimals or square roots that cannot be written as a fraction, that do not have a repeating decimal or terminating decimal. So things like pi is an example of this, or the square root of 5. And so real numbers can be broken down into these two types, which rational can then be broken down even further depending on which number it is. So, given that we are given a list of numbers, we can classify what each type are. So say for example we're given -10, negative square root of 3, 5/39, 0, 0.2, 1/3, 2.1212 repeating, 4 and 4 and pi. So there's our set of numbers. So if we want to say, well, which ones are integers, we would say, okay, well, integers, if we remind ourselves, are whole numbers that are natural that can also be negative. So things like -10 would be an integer. These are not. 0 would be, and 4 would be. Well, if we wanted to list what ones are rational numbers, we would say, okay, rational numbers are ones that can be written as a fraction. -10 can be written as a fraction because it's -10/1. Is how you can think about it. No, that is a fraction, so it already counts. 0. 0.2 is actually the same as 2/10 or 1/5. So 0.2 is 1. 1/3 already a fraction. Repeating decimals can be written as fractions and 4. So the set of rational numbers is the biggest so far because it contains all these other types within it. Then if we throw on irrational numbers, these are any of the numbers that can't be written as a fraction. Well, negative square root of 3 and pi would be our two that fall under that category. And real numbers, well, they are all real. Because if we remember this chart, if we have a real number, it breaks down to these two types. So between rational and irrational, as long as these are all real, we should have all of these represented between these two. Integers is a classification inside the rational numbers. So I should be able to take this list and pull out which ones are then whole, positive or negative numbers.